Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. This is the show for coaches, speakers, and trainers who want to grow their businesses while making an impact in the world. I'm your host, Simone Vincenzi, and today we have an incredible episode with a special guest talking about how we can find the money that is hidden in our business. And I'm really curious because I've already checked under the mattress. Unfortunately, I haven't found any, so that might not be the right place. But before we introduce our guest today, I want to remind you about our expert business checklist. Now, if you're new to the podcast and you have not downloaded it yet, you need to get it right now. In particular, when you're running a business as an expert in your field, knowing where to start is very difficult. Everyone is telling you, Facebook ads are the best thing, and you need to do Facebook groups, and you need to do YouTube ads. But the reality is all these strategies work. What's important is what matters to you and your business, and what strategy is best for you. And that's, you need clarity first. So to get that clarity, make sure you get the expert business checklist, which when you complete it, is going to give you an automatically an action plan that you can focus on, and then you know where to invest your time, money, energy, and effort to grow your business. So check it out. You can just need to scroll down in the show notes, and the link is going to be there. Or you can go into gtex.events /expert biz checklist. So gtex.events /expert biz checklist, and that's where you can get it. Now, without further ado, it's time to introduce our guest for today. David started marketing online in the mid-90s, at the dawn of the email age. His work includes marketing in the classical music and wine industries, as well as running a Facebook ads agency. David is the co-owner of the marketing strategy consulting firm, The Prepared Group. David, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, Simone, I am super. Thank you so much for having me on.
Super. So before we talk about finding money that is hidden in the business, and as I mentioned, I checked under the mattress, not there. So it must be sitting somewhere else. So we're going to find out. But before we go there, I know you are a wine connoisseur and you are a wine expert. We had actually a few conversations around wines, and I actually, as one of my date nights, I got your course on becoming a wine connoisseur. So I'm really excited to check that out. Cool. But I want to know, what is your favorite wine?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
Like Hall of Famer. I know you got to have a number one, like the one that you go to when you want to celebrate something.
Sure. So, it's one that I don't come across very often, but when I do, it is a special wine, and it's a winery based in Spain in the Rioja region. Do you know much about this region? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So when I turned 40, I decided I'm gonna celebrate by getting a bunch of birth year wine from this winery, because they age their wines so beautifully. And I'm getting close to 50, and I still have a case left of my birth year wine from a winery called Lopez de Heredia, very, very famous vineyard they have called Tondoña. And those are the key words you need to look up when you're going online, or you're going over to where BBR or wherever you're going. Isn't Berry Brothers, right? They probably have it.
Mm-hmm. And tell me a bit more about this wine. Like, how does it taste?
So if anybody has ever experienced Rioja wines, they're probably drinking very young, forward wines, because that's kind of the modern style.
Generally,
but the old style of Rioja, which is what Lopez de Heredia is all about, is first of all aging. So they don't release their wines for somewhere between, depending on the bottling, 7 to 10 years. So already you have wines that have matured and have secondary and tertiary character to them, which is super exciting, because those are flavors that most people don't get to encounter. But there's a wonderful combination of spice and non-fruit flavors that I just love in these wines, especially when I'm drinking them alongside the sort of classic pairing. Garlic and peppers and lamb are sort of a great flavor combination with these wines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I got to check it out. And now I'm curious, you see, and probably this was what I'm going to do while I'm watching your video training. I'm going to get that bottle of wine. So we have like a David Baer night. I'll let you know how it goes.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing the results of it. Actually, I'm sitting here, and right in front of me is a postcard from the winery itself. So Viña Tandoña, from Lopez de Heredia, and you can look it up online, or at Barry Brothers and Rudd is probably a good place to find it.
All right, so let's talk. We're not here to talk about wine, though, but that's something.
Too bad.
Too bad. That's a business podcast. It's not a wine podcast. But I like to get to know. I want our listeners and the people from our community to get to know also the people behind the show, and something that they are passionate about other than the business that they do. But let's talk about business and marketing. What got you involved in what you're doing right now? What was the thing that got you to say, you know what, I got to help now more businesses finding more money and getting more leads and become great at the marketing part of it?
Well, in fact, it starts back when I was in the classical music and the theater industry, where I was marketing. I was getting people to buy tickets to see shows, right? I was getting people to buy wine to celebrate life events or just enjoy a night out. And I learned a ton about marketing in those businesses. And then I bought my own business. I bought a franchise, and I tapped into what the franchise taught me I needed to do marketing wise. And you know what? It failed. And I thought, wait a second, I bought a system. It should have worked, but it didn't. Yeah. And that's when I realized, gosh, there's a lot more to marketing than I understood up until now. And I turned my attention to really digging into how small businesses need to market systematically and strategically, as opposed to what I was doing, which was tactically. Right. I was just doing the one or two activities that they told me to do. And as I got a little bit deeper into understanding marketing through a strategic lens, right? I'm here currently. I want to get over there. What are the things I need to do to accomplish that? And it's always going to be different depending on the situation a business is in and what they want that outcome to be. And so I moved from being I actually started a marketing agency where I was running Facebook ads and running campaigns for people. And I kept encountering business owners who weren't thinking strategically, and I wanted to encourage them to. And ultimately, I couldn't convince enough people that they needed to think more broadly than the tactics they were hiring me for. So I met up with my now partner, Ken Cook, who you know. Yeah. And we were both commiserating over this challenge we had in our own businesses as agency owners, and said, you know what, we should start a strategy consulting firm. And that's what we've done. We've been doing it for 3+ years now, where we have been focusing on the strategic approach to marketing and helping businesses that understand the concept, but haven't necessarily implemented the concept, how to build out systems to strategically attract, convert, and retain clients.
You know what? It's so powerful what you said for a few parts here in what you mentioned. One is the strategies versus tactic fight. And it's almost like a light versus darkness, ever-ending fight. Because what people are looking for most of the time and what they search for, they're looking for the tactics. How do I run my YouTube ads? How do I do my Facebook ads? How do I run Facebook groups? And how do I do Instagram marketing? But if the machine is not working and the strategy behind it actually is not something that moves the client to buy even more later on, You can run these incredible Facebook ads and then get nothing, not because the Facebook ads that you did is wrong, but because all your strategic part behind the business is not working. But what I found though, and I'm curious to hear how you overcame that, that strategic part is so essential, but it's not sexy.
Oh, no, it's not.
And that's why people like it really like you. How did you manage to package it so that people could understand the sexiness of it?
Yeah. Well, funny thing you should ask, because it happens to be the topic that we are covering today. So, Ken, you know me, and we actually approach our business from two very different angles. Ken is a like next level thinker, highly cerebral, and he's not. He's a very sophisticated marketer, but he's not a good messenger. Messaging is the key here, and so. When Ken approaches it, he says, well, it's all about businesses looking for predictability in their revenue. And I'm thinking, gosh, Ken, that's not very sexy, is it? Right. So we did a split test. We tested his approach, which is predictability in revenue, right? Against my approach, which is uncover money that's hiding right in front of you.
Sexy.
Yes.
I like it. I like it because it is about how the message is delivered. And this is a lesson for everyone as well, already listening on the show, that maybe you are not selling the latest trends. Maybe you're not selling what's hotter right now, but you're selling something that is the foundation for everything else, whether it's on a personal development, whether it's on business development, whether it's on relationship, depending on the field that you're in. So it's your role to make your message sexy. So then people come in, they say, oh, what's that about? And then you can say, hey, here it is. And this is why it's important. But at least you get their attention instead of them just scrolling past or not even noticing. And I think the other lesson here is the split test. Like, don't be afraid to test. You might have two conflicting messages or two messages that you want to see which one works best. Use them both. See which one attracts more people. That's the winner, because sometimes the one that you are in love with is not the one that your ideal clients are in love with.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a few different ways that I like to teach people to test. One of them is something that I learned from a guy who I think you know as well, named Seth Green, who learned it from another guy who is a big Facebook marketer. And it was a super simple Facebook ads campaign where Seth taught me this. It's kind of cool. You take like a image of a Post-it note, and you put different messages on the Post-it note. So it's like a little what do you call those images that you just find online? It's blanking right now, but you just
like a stock image.
Yes, a little stock image, and then you type text over it. You go to canva.com and you can just create one of these.
Yeah.
And so you run the ad. It's just the Post-it note with the little message and nothing else, no context for it. You get it in front of your target audience, and a little, click or, sign up or whatever the call to action is, learn more, and spend 20, 30, 40 bucks and see which one gets more clicks. Now, where you send them doesn't even matter, right?
You're just testing.
Because all you're testing is the message.
Yeah. You're not testing a conversion. You're not testing the landing page. You're not testing how many people from the ad that click. You're just testing the message. And with literally like $30, $40 or pounds, depending where you're listening to, then you can have your result. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And you know what? Like, it's a strategy that I know, but have I ever used it? Nope. So locked in. Reminder to use, because I got a few ideas in mind. So let's get started with actually now before we go into more like uncovering where like the strategic approach that you want to present today. I'm curious about like a particular episode, for example, that you had with a client that maybe they came to you for a specific thing and they say, oh, David, we need to know how to attract more clients, and we are trying these different strategies, And then you found something that was a fundamental mistake that they have made in their strategy that that you had to solve. So then people can visualize a bit more like the process of your process and how you work with clients and where to find as well those holes that there are.
Sure. So, we go through a discovery process when we are initially onboarding a client. And we ask them the same questions that we ask in advance of them even becoming a client, which is, tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing. And we can hear all kinds of things, but the most consistent answer is, right? The the example that you gave, Simone, is I need more clients. I need more traffic. I need more people coming to us fresh and new for the first time, right? That's what most businesses think they need. Now, you heard how I phrased that, right? They think they need more prospects.
Yep.
And so one of the questions that we ask them is, well, tell us about the process for taking in a prospect and leading them through your sales or presentation process and converting them. And so they will tell us. And then the next question we ask is, okay, well, tell us about the people who don't convert. You know what the answer is, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they weren't interested. So what do I need to do with them? I didn't follow up with them. I didn't, bother communicating with them anymore. They went away.
They didn't buy it.
Right. Well, that is probably the biggest source for untapped money that's sitting right in front of you. All of those prospects who raised their hand initially to say, I'm interested, but for some reason didn't move forward and may very well be interested down the road. But because you as a business owner neglect to follow up with them, stay in front of them, continue to communicate with them, give them additional opportunities to engage with you, you're missing out on money that's sitting there in front of you.
Yeah, that's immediately like I wouldn't say a simple one, but one of the biggest one. Because at the end of the day, I know that when I reach out, for example, to people that didn't buy from me and asking them, why not? Like, why haven't you bought from me? Then I get my best ideas for product development. And the question for you is, from your experience, what are the main reasons why people don't buy straight away? Because in an ideal world, this is what we want to do. I've got a great service. I know I got a great service. I got a great product. I'll put it out and everyone buys.
Yeah.
And then reality kicks in. So what are the reasons why people don't buy?
Well, the biggest reason is that the majority of people are not in buying mode at any given time. Right. It's less than 10%. I've seen anywhere between 4 and 7% of people who are actually inquiring or looking for a solution are at the point in the buying process or in the process that they're actually thinking about making a purchase. Everybody else is just window shopping or gathering information. And therefore, if you only focus on people who are ready to buy and disregard everybody else, you're missing out on people who actually would be ready to buy at another point, right?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest reason, right? People are typically going through a process of consideration and understanding the way that we as humans make buying decisions. You need to tap into the fact that we're not all as motivated to buy anything that shows up right in front of us. It's not like we're at the checkout counter at the grocery, at the market, right? And you have this impulse thing that you're putting right in front of everybody, and everybody's going to say, yes, I need that stick of gum. Yes, I need that tabloid, publication or whatever it is that's in front of them, right? You have typically, particularly those of us who are in coaching, consulting, advising kind of roles in our businesses, right? There is a lot of back and forth consideration. Is this the right path for me to go down? thinking in the prospect's mind before they are ready to make that decision.
Yeah, that's a huge one. That's a huge one. And I think that bearing that in mind, you have you can make some strategic decision in your business. One is okay, so how am I going to move people from the not interested state or not buying state to a consideration phase? That's one point. And also, every time you're running a promotional campaign, knowing that your role as a business owner is actually to grow. If you have that, 3 to 7%, 4 to 7% of people that will always buy, that aren't going to buy my mode in your database, in your list, in your followers, you have that little window. Your role as a business owner is adding more and more people. So then you always have this percentage, because one of the problems I see sometimes with people and with businesses is that because they don't bring new leads, that 3% or 7% is always the same. And then when they buy, and then it reduces.
Right.
And then they arrive to a point where there is like, oh, but no one is buying anymore. Oh, the people that could buy, they've already bought. What do you want?
So yeah, this is true. You do need to consistently and continuously bring in new prospects, but it doesn't mean that you need to focus all of your energy on the new prospects to make sales. So there's a couple of points I want to make here. Mm-hmm. Number one, when we are building out any kind of communication campaign, regardless of the medium, whether it's telephone, whether it's direct mail, whether it's email, the follow-up process, we have kind of two different nurture campaigns that we do. When somebody shows up for the first time, we do what we call a short-term nurture campaign, which is to get them to take a very specific action. Right. But for everybody who does not take that action, right, that 93 to 96%, we move them into a long-term nurture. And that's, for me, as simple as somebody opts into a webinar, or you do 5-day challenges for the 5-day or 30-day. You do challenges.
Yeah,
I just know that.
5 day.
Right.
5 day.
And some of those people at the end of the challenge, graduate to becoming a client, and many of them won't. So what do you do with them? Well, you can move them into an ongoing relationship. The easiest way to do that is to just move them to your broadcast email list, for example. That's what I do. I take people, they opt in for one of our lead magnets, something that we give away in exchange for collecting their contact information. We then take them from a logical place. You opted in to get this information. Well, here would be the next logical step once you've consumed that information and know a little bit more about how to address the problem or the situation that you're in. And it's usually get on the phone with us, for example, or to jump on a Zoom call with us. Right. Other businesses might have a different scenario depending on the industry.
Depends on the strategic of what's your sales process, basically.
Right. But for many people, they're not going to move into that phone call or that Zoom call or showing up in a retail shop or whatever. Well, we just move them to the weekly broadcast, and we continue to have a call to action. Hey, by the way, if this resonated with you and now is a good time, here's what to do next. And that's it. It's so simple to stay in front of these people and get them to take action when they're ready. So that's point number one I want to make.
Yep.
But before I move on to number two, do you want to jump in at all?
No, I'm okay. I'm curious about point number two. It makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. And for people that don't do it, or they have collected lists and they are not consistent in their approach, you're losing a lot of money. That's all I'm telling you. So point number two.
So a few minutes ago, you said when I asked people about why they didn't buy, and I get answers from them, that's when I get some of the best ideas about new things I can offer.
Yep.
Right. Well, another place where money is hiding inside your business is offering additional things to your existing clientele or to the prospects who aren't interested in your initial offer. And so going back to prospects and saying, here's what else I have for you, and going to existing clients and say, hey, you already love us. and here's something else we can offer you, well, that's another place where you can easily help them to address whatever need they have, and earn additional income.
How do you find out what additional services you could potentially put in front of clients? Let's say that you have this list of people that didn't buy, right? Yeah. What one option could be, just guessing, and maybe they will need that. Do you have a more structured approach to find out what to put in front of them?
Yeah. So you remember that that messaging ad campaign that we talked about a little bit earlier, where you just basically throw something out there and see what people do? Well, that's a great way to do it. One way you might do this is send an email out to your list. Let's say you've collected this list of prospects. Over time, you have a few hundred or a few thousand people on your list. And you say something along the lines of, and it has to come from somewhere. It can't be some crazy idea that you've just thought of and say, hey, this would be great if I could sell this too, right? It probably comes from a conversation with an existing client where they have a need.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, well, I might be able to develop something to address that need, right? So the ideas are going to come from somewhere, right? I love sharing the stories. I love transparency. I love to say, I was in a meeting last week with my client, Ned, not Ned's real name, by the way. And Ned and I were talking about this, and here's the situation he's in. And I realized I could really help him if only I had this service available, or this product, or this course, or whatever it is that would fulfill that need.
Oh, I like that.
So I'm thinking about putting this together. Before I do, I'm curious, would you be interested? Just send an email out and give them a mechanism for answering, which could simply be hit reply and let me know if you're in, right?
Don't need it to have a complex funnel or a survey. Just hit reply, let me know if you're interested. That's it.
Right. Well, that's a super simple way of doing it. You could do something more sophisticated. Maybe, here's the 5 things that we're thinking about doing next in our business. We'd love to, get your, level of interest. Why don't you come and fill out this form, and we'll rank them. And the one that is, gets the most interest, that's what we're going to release next. That's another way to do it. And there's probably a dozen other ways that are as simple as those two.
No, so we talked about different ways in which we uncover money. So one is to keep in touch, and the amount of people that don't do it. Like sometimes people say, oh, but really, is that simple? Yes, it's that simple, but are you doing it? That's my question to everyone here who's listening or watching. So keeping in touch regularly, and always, which is another distinction that you always put a call to action to what their next step was going to be in your sales process. Because I also find people that now they spend time creating weekly newsletters and they keep in touch, but they don't put a call to action. Like they don't put the next step. They just keep nurturing and nurturing and nurturing and nurturing to the point that now that person loses interest because you're not offering anything. So
there's a key to the call to action thing, which is not always necessarily the next step in the sales process. It's training. It's training. We're going to talk about email because it's the most effective way to stay in touch, and the way that I think is most personal in how it's consumed. Right. So let's talk about email. If you train people to open your emails, so in order to get them to open, you have to either be somebody that they're looking forward to hearing from, right? Which means you got to give a good content. It can't always be mundane or boring, otherwise they're never going to open. And so that's the first thing they're looking at is, who's this email from? And then an enticing enough subject line that says, I want to know more. I want to know what this is about, whether it's curiosity, whether it's something that's going to a special announcement, or whatever it is that's going to resonate with your audience, right? You got to figure out what that is, which means you need to know your audience and have a clear and specific audience.
Going back to the importance of the strategic work and knowing your audience and the niche, which is not as sexy. But without that, nothing else really works. So then
once you've trained them to open up your emails, you got to train them to take action from within your emails. And so if you have content for weeks on end, and then, out of nowhere, you have a call to action, do something, well, people are a lot less likely to do something. But if you don't want to be selling or pushing people all the time toward book a call with me or whatever other call to action, is next in your sales process, well, tell them to do something else. Tell them to click and go watch a video that you made. Tell them to click and join a Facebook group that you've started. Tell them to, click and check out somebody else's offer that you're promoting. Yeah. There's any number of things that you can tell them to do each and every time you send out an email. And by the way, one call to action per email.
One call to action per email, not giving them 15 different things that they can do. They can click on and watch a bit of this, watch a bit of that. Can I add a caveat to that, though? Can I add a caveat?
Sure. And by the way, I just broke that rule because I'm co-promoting two things at once, and so yes, I have multiple calls to action. But no, but it's not common.
The rule of thumb. I 100% agree with you. Is one call to action per email. But the caveat is an email newsletters where you might have, like a top article.
Oh, sure. Different sections. Yeah.
Different sections. And you have, this is my podcast for the week. This is my, but still, if you're looking at why email newsletters work, is that they train you to click. For when you have the only call to action, which is to buy something or to do it. So there is still a purpose of it. That's the only caveat I wanted to add. Yeah. To this for our pickiest listeners, that they say, no, actually this you can. Well,
I'm not listening to anything else David Baer says, right, because he told me only one call per action.
One call to action, and it's like, no, you can cut some slack. We're talking about rule of thumb, but I know we have this kind of people that are listening to us, so they need to make a point. Now, so the other thing that we talked about, keeping in touch regularly, call to actions, training your audience to click and to take the action that ultimately you want them to take. You mentioned as well about adding an additional service that can help your audience even more, whether are your existing clients or potential new clients. Is there something that we have missed? Or did we uncover there's some of the?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch that we've missed because that list is endless. But I'm gonna give you a general concept.
Yeah, just give me
general concept that we really focus on a lot in our business is helping our clients figure out how to, what I call, programmatically over deliver, or in other words, what Ken refers to as surprise, delight, and wow. How do you build into the way that you deliver what you deliver such excitement and enthusiasm for you as a business, as a service provider, as a product developer, whatever you happen to do, that your existing clientele love you so much and are looking for additional ways to either spend money with you or introduce others to you. Right. This is another area that I think a lot of businesses tend to get lazy because they're thinking, oh gosh, first you're telling me I gotta communicate on an ongoing basis. That's such a pain in the neck. And now you want me to actually go above and beyond? Why can't I just be really good at what I do? Well, what this over delivery does is it helps support existing clients' interest in wanting to spend more money with you, in wanting to endorse you and recommend you and refer others to you. And then when you build systems around that on top of this programmatic over delivery, that's when the money starts flowing in nonstop.
Oh, I love that. And that's something that I'm actually thinking even more and more at the moment, is how can we create this wow factor within GTeX, and it is really powerful, and incentivizing your members and your clients to keep referring new clients. You just made a sale. You made a sale. You have someone that can become an advocate for your brand. That can introduce more people like themselves. And if there is one thing that we know, is that people hang out with people that are like themselves. So if you get new clients, you know that they are connected at least to 5 or 6 other people, other correct people that can introduce to your services. So very powerful, David. I love this. I love this show because we are talking about principles, and I'm a big fan of principles, and I'm a big fan of what on the surface cannot be sexy, but it's actually when you have the system running in your business, and there is never ending. And it's a never-ending process how you can build on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Then you really have something. You have already a machine that is working for you, and that's what I'm really excited about. So, if someone wants to reach out to you, David, say either want to work with you, they maybe need help, they were inspired by this show, and they said, you know what, I'd love to see to check out David and Ken a bit more, see what they have, or I want to work with you. What's the best way to reach out to you?
Sure. Well, they can reach us directly through our website, which is conveniently easy to pronounce. It's thepreparedgroup.com. And
thepreparedgroup.com. It's perfect. It's easy. Even an Italian can pronounce it, so you're good.
Bellissimo.
Sadly. So thepreparedgroup.com. And I know also that you have a checklist. What's the checklist about?
So the checklist actually covers some of the pieces that we've talked about here and a whole lot more, because there are multiple elements to the process that we talk about, which we've called I'm going to rename this now that I've told you what Ken and I believe our messaging should be. We call it the predictable revenue framework. And that's the checklist that we offer, guides you through the predictable revenue framework. But in fact, what I should start calling it is the hidden money checklist.
The sexiest.
Right. So
poor Ken.
I can't guarantee what.
When we get Ken on the show, he's probably gonna get his revenge. You know that.
Right, I'm sure.
On you.
I'm sure. Well, I don't know what the page will say when you arrive there, but if you're interested in the checklist, you can grab it at thepreparedgroup.com / get this is a little confusing /checklist.
No way.
Easy naming convention, isn't it?
thepreparedgroup.com / checklist. Check it out. And also you can scroll down and the link is in the show notes. Now, before we wrap up with David, this incredible podcast interview, which I really want you to take notes, make sure you take action. No, I don't need to repeat those things, but no, I need to repeat those things because I want you to take notes and I want you to take action. Also, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you subscribe so then you don't miss any other episodes, and let us know with the review what you thought about this show. If you enjoyed the show, reviews are the life and blood of the podcast. That's how we attract incredible guests like David. That's how we grow. That's how we attract more incredible people like you. And if you want to this podcast to grow and you believe in our mission that we have in turning experts into authorities and how you can do that too, then make sure you leave us a review and let us know what you thought about this show. So now, to wrap up, David, if we had to summarize with a final message, this interview, what will be your final message?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is money that is hiding in each and every one of our businesses. And, there's a few different ways that we've discussed where to find that money. Unconverted prospects is one. Finding additional ways to earn revenue from additional offers and understanding how to figure out what those offers ought to be. And then programmatically over-delivering to your existing clientele are all paths to finding access to that money that's sitting there right in front of you that you can reach out and grab if you only knew how.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, David Baer, thank you very much. It has been an incredible show. And remember, until next time, together we grow exponentially. Ciao.